about the new NBA season and the Kings opening tomorrow night. And Drapes, we got to talk about the 49ers now. And I know things aren't going great right now.
I've been waiting.
But as I know our next guest will share with you, this thing is far from over. At least I hope that's what he's going to say. 49er analyst, NBC Sports Bay Area, Rod Brooks, back with us. How are you today, Rod?
You know, we don't have to talk about it. We can talk about it. Because I honestly do want to know how the Kings, or as I like to call them, Kings, how they going to do this year. I'm curious.
Well, we're going to be great.
Yeah.
What do you mean? We're going to be fantastic, big fella. We worried about the Niners right now, though.
No, I mean, hey, listen, man. Last week, that stunk out loud. They stunk in all three phases of the game equally. It was bad. And I said this on the post-game show. Who they play, including the Cowboys, who are comically bad. I don't care who you play.
Ugh.
You get run over like they did, gave up 184 yards on the ground. All 4 touchdowns by the Chiefs were rushing touchdowns. If you have Brock Purdy, who did not play well, but part of the reason he didn't play well is because he was under siege. The Niners' offensive line just got completely overwhelmed by any blitz that the Chiefs threw at him, and the Niners couldn't run the ball the way they normally do. Those were the basic problems. Then you get to the skill position players not being able to do anything, Aiyuk being hurt. Then you get to special teams, which has been a long-running joke all season. If they play anywhere near like that against the Cowboys, they will lose to a bad Cowboy team. They got to do better than they did last week.
Rod Brooks with us, not to get lost in, the X's and the O's and all that, but is there a simple reason as to why the offense is struggling so much against loaded boxes and man-to-man coverage?
Really, really simple, because of loaded boxes and man-to-man coverage. Look, I mean, you think of the teams that have given the Niners offensively problems over the years, starting with the Chiefs, the most recent and the biggest games, in the Super Bowl. You think about what Minnesota was able to do last year. You think about what the Browns were able to do last year defensively. All these teams have something in common. They have the ability to take away the Niners' run game and then completely take away anything they want to do on the outside, man-to-man. When they can match up like that, they can send blitzes. They can take away the in-breaking routes over the middle that the Niners love. You notice how the Niners were unable to exploit any of that against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have 2 of the worst coverage linebackers in the league, and the Niners were unable to get anything in the middle of the field because everything had been taken away either at the line of scrimmage with the run game or Purdy being under siege, or things have been taken away on the outside in just man-to-man coverage. So the book is out on the Niners. Mm-hmm. But the trick is, do you have the personnel and the coaching know-how, if you will, mainly the personnel, but do you have the personnel to say, okay, we're going to stop the run. Even we might even do it with 7, but we're going to stop the run with 7. If we got to bow up and do it with 8, we will, but we're going to take away anything they want to do on the outside. If you can do that, you can keep this Niner offense from not only being able to go up and down the field in sort of a methodical fashion with the run game, you take away any ability they have with explosive plays. And what made the Niners good last year defensively, and what made them good at the beginning of this year, offensively, I should say, their ability to get explosive plays. Well, the Kansas City took that away from them. Minnesota has taken that away from them. The Cowboys don't have that kind of personnel. They're injured defensively. The Cowboys don't run the ball, offensively, so they can't control the clock. So the Cowboys don't have that personnel. But that goes into what I was saying, just a few moments ago. If the Niners are turning the ball over, if Brock Purdy doesn't have time to throw, if they keep making these mistakes, the special teams keeps just completely being awful to watch, then they're going to lose to a team like the Cowboys. But the Cowboys don't have the personnel to do what Kansas City and some of these other elite defenses have done to the Niners.
Hey, Rod, did the Niners wide receivers, and I understand they were without Debo, Aiyuk got hurt, no Jawan Jennings. Did they just get old or regress, or or is this nothing to really panic about? Once everybody's healthy, it'll be fine.
Well, I mean, listen, let's keep it funky, man. Debo, who you want on your team, but Debo, in terms of getting away from man coverage or getting separation, that's just not something he's done this year and something he's been able to do over the last few years. Juwan Jennings has been problematic. Aiyuk, you could see that things were starting to get to, he was looking like, okay, he's in football shape and he's ready to go. And then the injury happened. So, for the Niners, it's just what the crossroads are at right now is got these young guys who they were actually counting on to help them this year in terms of beating man coverage, specifically Ricky Pearsall. Now these guys have to get up to speed real quick and do it right now. So you're leaning more on Pearsall, who just got back after, surviving a horrific shooting, and him being able to play, I think, is a major miracle. But now he not only does he have to get himself right, he's got to get right with Brock Purdy. He's got to somehow form a bond with Brock Purdy that Purdy has had with Brandon Aiyuk over these last few years because of their association. Cowing, a young guy, he's got to get on board quickly. So that's where the Niners are in terms of trying to find ways to beat man coverage. But it's going to be hard for them to do anything if the Niners' offensive line is continually getting beat by overload blitzes on one side, and they can't figure out how to keep Brock Purdy from being harassed or rushed into a throw.
Rod Brooks with us, and Kyle Shanahan, sometimes I think he's too honest. For example, when he was asked about the young receivers after the loss, and I know that's a tough loss, maybe coach speak would be, hey, they played well, but he said, well, none of them made any really terrible mistakes, so that's something to build on. But my question, Rod, would be, in your opinion, are they more likely to replace Aiyuk from, in-house with some of the players we're talking about, or do you think there's a chance they go get a receiver in the trade market?
No, I think it's all going to happen in-house. I think it's going to be what I just said, is that they drafted these guys for this reason. They didn't think it was going to happen as quickly, as drastically, as suddenly, with the Aiyuk injury sort of being the main focus, but that's what they got these guys for. My partner, my man, Dante Whitner, said on the post-game show as we were going off the air on Sunday that the Niners should try and get Hopkins out of Tennessee. Well, I'm sure you guys saw that Hopkins got out of Tennessee, but unfortunately he went to Kansas City. So that's fantastic, isn't it? But my thing is, and I like D-Hop. I remember from his days in Houston when he was truly one of the best receivers in football. I don't know if that necessarily answers the Niners, which is, hey man, Hop's still good, but 32 years old, is he still going to be able to give the Niners what they need, which is somebody who can beat man coverage? And I don't know. I don't know. I think that the Niners are they're not necessarily feeling good about where they are, but I think they're saying, hey man, we got these guys, and if our analysis of them is correct, they're going to be okay for us. It's just a matter of whether they're going to be able to get up to speed as quickly as possible.
Right, let's talk about the defense a little bit. They got gashed, I felt like, in the running game. Yep. Do you see them making a move? And are you surprised that they haven't made a move yet when it's so desperately needed?
That's where I think the move is coming from, or that's the area that's going to be addressed. They did make a move, not bring someone from the outside, but they did move up a guy who, if you're sort of a Niner, or like me, paying attention to the stuff, a name Evan Anderson, young player, defensive lineman, who over these last few games to start the season, he has flashed, and he has flashed in a big way. More depth on that defensive line, more depth on the interior of that defensive line is what they're trying to establish. So I think if they're going to do something, either to get more in there in that D line, maybe in the linebacker situation. But this is a team that Cowboys, they're going to be a get right game for them because the Cowboys simply cannot run the football. They are one of the absolute worst teams, actually the worst team in running the ball in yards per carry, yards per attempt, yards per game, I should say, yards per attempt, and they only have 2 rushing touchdowns on the season. But going forward for the Niners, I mean, that's something that they're going to have to be consistently better at, and they just haven't been at that point as they had been in previous seasons, for sure.
Rod, as you know, 2 years ago, the 49ers, they play the Chiefs at Levi's in October. They lose the game. Christian McCaffrey had just gotten started with them. He ends up helping them save the season. They win, 12 in a row. How likely, in your opinion, is it that CMC comes back and helps them save this season?
Christian McCaffrey coming back will absolutely make the Niners better on both sides of the ball, obviously, and specifically offensively, just because he's going to be one of the guys that helps you with your problem of not being able to beat man coverage because of all of the attention, all of the focus, and rightfully so, on him. So he's going to be absolutely someone who helps. I think, though, that the Niners' problems probably go a little bit beyond McCaffrey. And again, I just think of the offensive line and how when teams have the personnel, when they decide that they are going to send overload blitzes, the Niners offensively up front just have a hell of a time dealing with it. In my estimation, it's a problem. And it's the biggest problem because it's the one that affects your most important player, your quarterback, whose job it is to get the ball to your other most important player, Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Aiyuk, when he was healthy, and so on down the line. So to me, that's the problem that's got to get fixed. But I think McCaffrey coming back in and the run game obviously is going to be, that's going to be more dynamic than it has been. It's been at times efficient, not so much against Kansas City with Mason. It's been efficient. It's gotten the job done. But Christian McCaffrey gives you a dynamic sort of feel to the whole thing that I think permeates throughout the offense and to the defense. Well, with the defense, I'm boy. I like what they have. I worry about the pass coverage middle. Specifically with the linebackers, specifically with Devondre Campbell. And I don't like to call people out by name. I really don't. But man, we've watched enough football for the Niners here over the course of the season. You can clearly see that when teams have the desire and the personnel to go after that weak spot in the middle of the linebacker, in the middle of the field and attack Campbell in the pass game, they do that, and they do that with great success. And that's how drives get extended. That's how third downs turn into first down. That's how your defense stays on the field longer. You end up losing time of possession. The next thing you know, you're getting bludgeoned by the opposing team's run game, as we saw the Kansas City Chiefs do a few days ago on Sunday. So, I think you're going to end up 4-4 going to the bye week.
There you go.
My thought is that McCaffrey is going to come in, if not right after the bye week, a couple of weeks after the bye. This is just what I think, not what I've heard or what I know. So to me, things will get better, but I think we have over the first half of the season, we have seen the Niners. We know what they can do, and we know what they're not good at. And what they're not good at is the problem for me that I think is going to be exacerbated as this thing goes on.
Thank you, Rod. Listen, let us know when you and yours want to check out a Kings game here, and we'll set you up. All right?
Yeah, I've never been to the spot. I think it's ranked number one, the best arena in all the NBA. So, hey, man, I need to come kick it. I need to see the beam get lit.
Yes, just let us know.
Your season to be over shortly, so come up after the Niners are done, and we'll get you up in there.
Hey, man, why you got to bring all that
That was 15 yards.
to the conversation?
That is 15
right?
yards right
That's
there.
a flagrant. You're right. That's my bad. I apologize.
Blow the head. Thanks, Rod.
Silly cats always doing some nonsense, man. That's why people don't like y'all.
Oh, man, that's messed up. All right, Rod.
See you, Rod.
Man. Y'all be good.
All right,
Yeah,
we
man.
appreciate it.
All right.
By the way, you can experience the classic rock you know and love with the Little River Band this fall.